Hi everyone, thanks for checking out this video. So if you guys have been watching the past couple of videos on this GWAS project, then you know that we've spent a pretty decent amount of time just like going over some like optional like math of the logistic regression method. And then we had a video on this like additivity assumption, which I said for this one, like the math is optional, but like the conceptual understanding is actually pretty important. And then in the last video, we finally read in our mock data set so that we can get ready to start working with it. Yeah, so the last video was just like reading in the data, and actually like previously, several videos ago at this point, we actually like went over what how the data is set up in the data set and like what all these numbers and stuff mean. And now we're almost ready to actually go through and do our scan of the SNPs and then like check each one using the logistic regression method to get a p-value like for each SNP, and like check for an association between like the SNP genotype and zombie phenotype. That'll be what we're ultimately trying to do, and we're almost at that point now. But there is one more thing we need to do before we go through and do that scan of all the SNPs to calculate the p-values. So the last thing we're going to do before that, and like the topic of this video, is we're going to apply what's called a minor allele frequency filter. So we're going to, before doing this scan to look for SNPs that are related to the zombie phenotype, we're going to first basically filter down the SNPs to make sure we're looking at only SNPs where we have sufficient representation of both the reference and alternate alleles, so that we have basically enough representation of like both alleles so that we're able to check whether one of the alleles has some relationship with the zombie phenotype. If there's like not enough of one of the alleles, then we won't really be able to detect a relationship, even if there were one, basically. So yeah, we're gonna use for that something called minor allele frequency. So basically the goal of this video is to go through and calculate the minor allele frequency for all the SNPs in the data set. And then at the end, we're going to apply a filter and then like only select the SNPs that have a sufficient minor allele frequency, and then proceed on with those SNPs for the next video doing our actual GWAS analysis. Okay, so the point of like the minor allele frequency is basically to quantify the representation of whichever allele is less common for a particular SNP. And just as a very important note, the minor allele for a SNP is not necessarily the same as the alternate allele. The minor allele is just whichever one, either the reference allele or the alternate allele, whichever one is less common is the minor allele. And by the way, it could be different in different data sets. If you have like one study of like one population and then another study of a different population, it might be that like for a particular SNP, the reference allele is the minor allele in one population, and then in the other population, the alternate allele is the minor allele. So yeah, very important note, the minor allele is not necessarily the same thing as the alternate allele. It could be the alternate allele or the reference allele, just depending on whichever one is less common for a particular SNP. Okay, so what we're going to do for this video is just start off by calculating the minor allele frequency for the first SNP, and then after we figure out how to do it for the first SNP, then we'll go through and calculate it for every SNP so that we can apply this filter. So the first thing I'm going to do here is just grab the first SNP of data. That's our index 0 row of the data matrix or data two-dimensional array. So yeah, we're just going to grab the index 0 row. That's our first SNP. And then, yeah, so like we're hopefully getting used to at this point, we now have a bunch of zeros, ones, and twos for this first SNP. Again, that's this one here, where these zeros, ones, and twos tell us how many copies of the alternate allele each one of these people had for this SNP. So remember, like I keep saying, and sorry for repeating if I'm like annoying you guys by repeating this too much, but I just repeat because it's important, basically. But yeah, each person has two alleles for each SNP. And then these 0, 1, and 2 numbers tell us out of those 2 copies of the SNP that they have, how many copies were the alternate allele. So do they have 0 out of 2 copies that are the alternate allele, meaning they have 2 copies of the reference? Or do they have 1 copy of the alternate, meaning they also have 1 copy of the reference? Or do they have 2 copies of the alternate, meaning 0 copies of the reference? So they basically have like 2 copies of this SNP position, and then these zeros, ones, and twos tell us how many of those copies are the alternate allele. And yes, this looks good. We now have our first SNP stored in this array here. And then the next thing we're going to do for calculating the minor allele frequency is calculate the total allele copies we have for each SNP. And then, like we just said, each person or each sample has 2 copies of every SNP, 1 on each of their chromosomes. So yeah, 2 copies of every SNP. So the total number of alleles for each SNP is just the total number of samples we have times 2. So since we have 200 samples, remember 100 normal people and 100 zombies, we have 200 samples, so 200 times 2 should give us 400 total alleles per SNP. And we can see, yeah, that is what we get here. So now what we want to do for the first SNP is count how many copies of the reference allele there are in this whole population just for the first SNP. So we have our total alleles for this SNP, that's 400. And now we want to ask, out of those 400 allele copies for this first SNP, how many of them were the reference allele? And the way we're going to do this counting is basically we're gonna like check each element in this SNP array, and for each element, if it's a 0, that means they have 0 copies of the alternate allele, which means that they must have 2 copies of the reference allele. Because if you guys remember, yeah, I made like a simplifying assumption for this data set that there's only one possible alternate allele for each SNP. That's not always going to be a realistic assumption in real data sets. Sometimes you have SNPs that have more than one possible alternate allele. But yeah, for this data set, I just assumed yeah, only one possible alternate allele for each SNP. So if someone has a 0 a 0 for their genotype for a SNP, that means they have 0 copies of the alternate allele, which means they have 2 copies of the reference allele. So we're going to count up how many zeros there are in this array for this first SNP, and then count up how many there are, and then multiply that number by 2. Because every time we see a 0, that means they have 2 copies of the reference allele, because they have 0 copies of the alternate allele. And then we also need to account for all the 1s in here. So every time we see a 1, that means they have 1 copy of the alternate allele, which means they must also have 1 copy of the reference allele. So the total number of reference allele copies for this first SNP is all of the zeros we see times 2, plus all of the 1s we see times 1, basically. But I didn't put the times 1 though, because that's just, you know, redundant. But yeah. So actually, and I'll just note too that I did this counting in not the most efficient way. I'm doing the counting this way to make a point and to hopefully make it like easy to understand like what we're actually counting up here. But if you want to do this in like a more mathematically clever way, it is equivalent to just sum up all of the zeros, ones, and twos in the array and subtract that from the total alleles per SNP. So that is like a more mathematically clever way to do this count of the reference allele, but I purposely did it in like a less clever mathematical way just to hopefully be like more clear about exactly what we're counting here, basically. But yeah, if you want to just be like more mathematically efficient and clever, you could also just do total alleles per SNP minus the sum of this whole array, basically. But okay, yeah, so we can do this count, and then we can print out how many copies we see of the reference allele, and we see 155 copies of the reference allele out of 400. Now, at this point, if you were being clever and efficient, we could just say, okay, there's only two possible alleles, so we know that all the allele copies that aren't the reference allele must be the alternate allele, so we could get our alternate allele copy just by doing the total alleles per SNP minus 155, and that could be our alternate allele copy. But just for educational purposes, I am going to actually explicitly do the count, just again to like make sure we understand what we're counting, even though it's like not the most like efficient way to do things. So the alternate allele count is going to be all of the twos that we see in here times 2, because every time we see a 2, that means there's 2 copies of the alternate allele. So we're going to count up all of the 2's we see and multiply that by 2. And then also add all of the 1's we see, because every time we see a 1, that means they have 1 copy of the alternate allele. And again, yeah, that's like, there's a couple other more efficient ways to do this. You could just, of course, sum up the first SNP array, just count up all of the zeros, ones, and twos. I mean, sorry, not count, but like sum up all of the zeros, ones, and twos. Or I even just forgot to even make a comment. I'll just say like even more efficiently, just do total alleles per SNP minus the reference allele count. So yeah, those are a couple more efficient ways to do this alternate allele count, but I just decided to like do it like explicitly with this count of like 2's and 1's, just to be like hopefully completely clear about like what we're actually counting up here. So yeah, we have 245 counts of the alternate allele out of the 400 total allele copies. And so the next step, now that we have our counts of the reference and alternate alleles, is just to see whichever one is less common, because remember, the minor allele is just the less common of the 2 alleles, regardless of whichever one is the alternate or reference allele. The minor is the less common of the 2 alleles. And by the way, the more common is called the major allele. But yeah, we're interested in the minor allele here. So the minor allele is going to be just I should say the minor allele count is going to be whichever one of the counts is less. So we know that's going to be the 155, but just to do it like programmatically, we'll just take the minimum of the reference allele count and the alternate allele count. That will give us our minor allele count, just whichever count of the 2 alleles is less. And then our minor allele frequency is going to be the minor allele count divided by the total count of the alleles per SNP, which we know is 400. So yeah, we can do that and get 0.3875, which I guess is 155 divided by 400. And yeah, so that's our minor allele frequency for the first SNP. And this is a pretty good balance here. This means that the minor allele in this case was still almost 40% of the total alleles. So that's good to have like a balance like that, because having that balance means that it'll be easier for us to detect an association with the zombie phenotype if one exists. because we basically like have enough data and we have enough observations of both of the alleles that we should be able to detect an association between the genotypes and the phenotype if one of them exists. But if we have a minor allele frequency that's too small, like maybe 0.01 or 0.001, or just like too small of a minor allele frequency, then we might not have enough observations of one of the alleles to really check for a association with the zombie phenotype. So yeah, basically what we're going to do for this next step is just define a minor allele frequency of 0.05. And then we're going to go through and check each SNP one by one in a for loop. Yeah, we're trying to like iterate through each one, and then for each SNP, we're going to calculate the minor allele frequency doing the math that we just practiced doing on the first SNP. We're going to calculate that for every SNP, and then for each one, we're going to check if the SNP's minor allele frequency is greater than or equal to the minor allele frequency threshold of 0.05. And if it is, we're going to append true to this list to keep, to just like make a note that we want to keep that SNP. And then if it's not, then we're going to append false to this to keep list that we're going to be going through and keeping track of whether we're going to keep each SNP or not. Okay, so we'll run this for loop. And yeah, looks like it ran okay. And then the last thing now is finally to just apply this filter. So we're gonna first just cast this to keep list, which is now full of true and false elements, telling us whether we're gonna keep each SNP or not. Basically, we're just like cast this to a NumPy array so we can do some NumPy slicing with it. And then after we cast this to a NumPy array, we're just going to do this slicing on our SNP info and then data two-dimensional arrays, basically saying that we're only going to keep the rows of these arrays where to keep is true. So we're only keeping the SNP info and the actual SNP data for the SNPs where to keep was true, meaning the SNP met the 0.05 minor allele frequency threshold, basically. So yeah, we're going to do that filter and then just do some more sanity checks, and then finally just print out the percent of how many SNPs we ended up keeping. So after applying this filter, we ended up keeping about 90% of the SNPs. We discarded about 10% of them for not having enough representation of the minor allele, basically. Okay, so that's it for this video. And in the next video, we're going to finally be getting into the actual GWAS analysis. And yeah, so I just want to also thank you guys for being so patient here. I know we're taking a while to really get to the actual like analysis here. But yeah, the next video will finally be ready to get into the actual GWAS analysis. So yeah, thank you for watching, and see you guys next time.